Alright, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video and I'll go over the correct answers. So for the factoring, you're looking for two numbers that multiply to give you 30 and add to give you 13, or subtract to give you 13. So 1 and 30 multiply to give you 30, 2 and 15 multiply to give you 30, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. If you add or subtract 1 and 30, you won't get to 13. And same thing with 5 and 6. If you add or subtract, you won't get to 13. But however, 2 and 15 and 3 and 10 will both work, depending on what the signs are. Now on this one, we're trying to get to a negative 30. So that means that it's going to be x in the front with one positive number and one that is negative, because we're trying to get to a negative 30. So they have to be opposite signs. So that means that we need one positive number and one negative number. So if we do 13 and 10 and one of them is positive and one is negative, that's going to give us a 7 or a negative 7. So we're not going to use it. We're going to use the 2 and the 15. Then we need a negative 15. So if we do negative 15 and then plus 2, that gives us negative 13. So that would be your answer. So that's one way you can work through the factoring. Some of y'all do them differently. You don't have to show your work on factoring, but you do need to make sure to practice factoring every day because they show up quite often in problems. So I don't really care what you do, as long as you're able to factor it without cheating. For the math knowledge question, we have Miguel that is 180 centimeters tall. At 2 p.m. one day, his shadow is 60 centimeters, and the shadow of a nearby fence post is t. What is the height of the fence post in terms of t? So we have Miguel, and he is 180, and his shadow is 60. And then we have a fence post. We don't know the height of it, but we know that the shadow is t. So we're going to set up a ratio here. Height of Miguel is 180. Height of the fence post is just h. The shadow of Miguel is 60, and the shadow of the fence post is t. And so we need to find the height. So cross multiply. 60h equals 180t. And then divide by 60. And 180 divided by 60 is 3 times t. So C would be your answer for the height of the fence post. Alright, so we're looking at lesson 1 today in geometry, points, lines, and planes. Hopefully after the lesson you'll understand points, lines, and planes. So definition. The term definition means that it's a statement that defines a mathematical object. And we're going to be looking at a lot of definitions throughout the year. Unfortunately for you, geometry is a lot more like an English class than a math class. Or maybe not unfortunately for you. Some people love geometry, some people hate it. Either way, you have to take it. So hopefully it won't be too miserable for you. But if you hate it, just know that in May, as long as you pass the class and you pass your end of your class course, your exam, the LEAP 2025, that you will be done with geometry and you won't have to deal with it anymore. And if you love geometry, you can actually take some more classes on it in college. So definition is just a statement that defines a term. If you have an undefined term, that is a basic mathematical term that is not defined using other mathematical terms. And there are some undefined terms. Points, lines, and planes are all undefined terms because they are the building blocks that are used for defining other terms. So we can explain what a point, line, and a plane are, but they are technically undefined. So a point is just a location. It has no size, and it's represented by a dot. There's my dot, and you label it with a capital letter. So that would be point A. That would be point B. That could be point C. It's just a location. It's represented by the dot, but it doesn't actually have a size. A line is a straight path that has no thickness and it extends forever. Do you know how to draw lines? They look best if you draw them with a straight edge or a ruler. It's named either using a lowercase letter, so this could be line L, or 2 points on the line. So if I put 2 points, so that could be line A, B, or if I put a third one, you wouldn't do A, B, C, you only pick 2 of them. So pick any of A, B, and C, pick 2 of those, and you can name the line using those. And then collinear, points that lie on the same line. So if you look at this line right here, A, D, and B are all on line X, and so they are all called collinear points because they all lie on the same line. Non-collinear points are points that do not lie on the same line. So if I put a point C right here, points A, D, and C are not collinear. They are non-collinear because they do not lie on the same line. Okay? So we want to name the line in 2 ways, and then we want to name 3 collinear points. So the line, you can pick any 2 points. So pick 2 points, B and X. So B, X, and the way that you notate that it's a line, you draw a little line over them, like that. So that's how you would name the line, or that's one way. You could also name it XB. That would be fun. You could name it ZX or XZ. You could also name it BZ or ZD. There are 6 different ways that you could name this line right here. So any of those would be acceptable. For part B, we want to name 3 collinear points. So we need 3 points that are on the same line. Points B, X, and Z are all collinear, so they are all on the same line. And so that's the only option. You can rearrange the order of them, but B, X, and Z are the only 3 collinear points in this figure. Okay, looking at a plane. It's a flat surface that has no thickness and it extends forever. You name it either using an uppercase letter or 3 non-collinear points that lie in the plane. So either an uppercase letter or 3 non-collinear points. Coplanar means that the lines or the points are in the same plane. So coplanar means they're on the same plane. You can also have non-coplanar. That means that they are not in the same plane. So how many different ways can this plane be named, and what are they? So we can name it with a capital letter, but they don't give us a capital letter here. They only give us 3 points. And so how many different ways can this plane be named? We can pick those 3 points and we can say plane HSK. We could also rearrange them and say plane HKS. You could rearrange them again, plane SHK or plane SKH. Or you could do plane KHS or plane KHS. SH. You can rearrange them in any of the 6 ways. So how many different ways can this plane be named? 6, and it's these 6 ways. Now, why did we not use X? Do y'all see how it's actually up here? It's not on the plane, so it is non-coplanar with the plane that they were asking about. So we would not use it to name the plane here, because if we use X, we're not talking about the plane that they have drawn. Now it asks for 2 lines in the figure that are non-coplanar. So that means 2 lines that are not on the same plane. So do you see how these 2 lines intersect? If they intersect, then that means that they are coplanar. So they would not be non-coplanar. This line Q here does not intersect line XY. So line Q and line XY are non-coplanar because they do not intersect. If this one kept going, it looks like it would intersect, but it would actually just go in front of, and it's only because of the 2-dimensional object that it makes it look like they intersect. But they don't actually touch here. There's some space in between them. You could also say that line Q and line YZ intersect. Are non-coplanar because they do not intersect. So either one of those options would work. And then for part B, it says name 2 lines that are coplanar. So what are the 2 lines that do intersect? Well, line X, Y, and line YZ. Those are your 2 that are coplanar. And again, you could say YX or ZY instead of XY and YZ. That would be okay. The order of them on these does not matter. Okay, so now we're going to look at intersection. Intersection is the point or the set of points in which 2 figures meet. If you have 2 roads, there is an intersection, and that's where the 2 roads meet right here. The intersection of, pick 2 streets. That's where they meet up. When 2 lines intersect, their intersection is a single point. So if we have 2 lines that cross, they intersect at a point. When 2 planes intersect, their intersection is a single line. So do y'all see here, we have this dark blue plane, and then here we have this lighter blue plane. They intersect at line M. That's the only place that they touch. So if you take your hands, put them together, your hands are going to intersect at one spot, one line, just like 2 planes. If you look at the wall and the floor, they intersect in one spot, and it's at the corner down by the floor. The wall and the floor intersect that line down at the bottom there. It's just a single line. That's the only place that they touch. If you have a line that lies in a plane, then their intersection is the whole line. So if you have a plane and you have a line here, everywhere that this line is where they intersect, because they're always touching where the line is. And then if the line does not line the plane, then the intersection is just going to be a point. So if I draw my plane and I draw a line that's coming out of the plane, and then they do a dotted to show that it's behind the plane, and then they go back to solid. So this would all be dotted here. That's just showing you it's behind the plane there. And so we're going to have a point here, and that would be the only place that they would intersect. So what is the intersection of line PL and line GY? So PL is right here, and GY is here, and it keeps going. And where do they cross? At point H. it says give two names for the intersection of planes M and N. So where we have two planes intersect, they're going to always intersect at a line. So what line do the planes intersect at? If you look, it's this line here. And so you could say line HY or YH, line YG or line GY, line GH or line HG. Any of these 6 would be acceptable answers. So pick 2 of those, and that would be your answer. Okay, so in the geometry book, we have lesson practice problems, and I want you to make sure that you can do these. So y'all can pause the video and practice them, and then unpause the video and I'll go over them for you. But I want y'all to try these by yourself. They are in the book if you want to look on the in the book to see the pictures instead of looking on the smartboard. So it wants us to identify all of the lines. So there's a line W, there is line X, and there is line Y. Those are the 3 lines that are drawn. Line W, line X is going vertically, and then line Y. It says a pair of collinear points. So that's actually a trick question, because any 2 points are collinear. 2 points are always, you can always draw a line between them. So pick any of the 2 points you see. Pick A, B, C, or D. Those are the 4 points that we have. Pick 2 of those, and you have a pair of collinear points. All of the planes. There are 2 planes. We have plane R, and we have plane S. So those are the 2 planes that we have. Now it says 3 coplanar points. Now for this one, if you look, we have 4 points, A, B, C, and D. Point C is the only one that is on plane R. So it's not coplanar with the other ones. Now, the 3 coplanar points are going to be A, B, and D. So points A, B, and D are your coplanar points. Then the 2 coplanar lines means that they have to intersect. So we could have line W and line X because they intersect right here. Or you could have line line Y and line X because they intersect right here. So those would be 2 coplanar lines. And then a pair of non-coplanar lines would be lines that do not intersect. So the lines that don't intersect are line W and line Y. So that would be the answer for that one. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get most of those correct by yourself. Now we're going to look at some more practice problems. So again, you'll pause the video and try and do them by yourself, and then I'll go over them. What is the intersection of line JK? So that's line JK and line NM. Well, they intersect at point P. Then it says, what is the intersection of line JK and plane W? So plane W is here. They intersect at point K because point K is on plane W. If you look right here, you'll see how it's dotted here. That means that it's going behind the plane right there. So that's where they touch at K. And then it says, what is the intersection of line NP and plane W? Again, the intersection is going to be point M because that's where they touch. So hopefully you got those correct. Now we're going to look at a challenge question. And there's a challenge question on every geometry lesson. So y'all pause the video and think about this one for a minute, and then y'all can unpause it and I'll go over it. Is it possible to draw a point on a piece of paper that would fit the definition of point? And then explain it. No, it is not possible to draw a point on a piece of paper that would fit the definition of point. Since the inked dot on a piece of paper has a given area and dimension. If I put a dot here, it has a size. And the definition of a point is that it has no size and it is a zero-dimensional object. So the dot on a paper can only represent the point, but it can't actually fit the definition of point. So maybe some of y'all had that pretty close. Your homework tonight is 1 through 30, so make sure that y'all go over those, and then we can go over any questions you have tomorrow.